Hello from USC, Connor Morrissette and Shotgun Spratling joins us today on Instant Analysis. Shotgun, we just watched the 7th practice of fall camp for USC. We can start with some injury updates. I want to get your opinions, though, on some of the new guys on the roster, your first chance getting to see them in person. But we heard from Lincoln Riley after practice, Malachi Crawford, the second-year cornerback, out for the season with an injury. Unfortunate news.
Yeah, you hope that you don't have any season-ending injuries when you go to camp. They came into camp pretty healthy. Only a couple guys that were not going to be available at the start. Lincoln Riley did say at Media Day he expected everyone to be available during fall camp. Now you lose one guy, Malachi Crawford. The saving grace is that it is a young player, that maybe they can learn from it. Unfortunately for Malachi Crawford, he also missed last season with an injury, so this will be the second year in a row that he's not going to be available for USC. We've seen some other guys that are banged up. Braylon Shelby didn't practice today, Amos Telelele, Jarvis Boatwright, a couple other guys, but Lincoln Riley said everything's pretty, just nicks and bumps from camp. He doesn't expect anything, lingering there. We did see Elijah Page kind of being helped out by the trainers. Maybe was a knee at first, but then he stopped at one point and definitely looked like cramps. And I heard one of the other offensive linemen talking a little bit later that he was cramping up. So a little bit of a sigh of relief there, because when he came out with the trainers, you go, uh-oh, that's a big piece for USC and their offensive line. So good to see that was not anything serious. Hopefully he'll be back and available for USC. Lincoln Riley did say they had a long practice. It was longer than anticipated as far as on the call sheet for us to be over there. But it sounds like they went through pretty tough practice, had some up downs at the end of practice. We could hear them doing. So, get into the thick of it. This is the thick of fall camp. Now, there's no two-a-days like there used to be, but this is the time when it starts to become a grind for players. That second week, I think they scrimmaged some today as well. I think that was something that was talked about a little bit. So, we didn't get any updates on necessarily any superstars or standouts there. But the positive is only one player's gone down with a serious injury, and it wasn't someone who was expected to be in the two deep rotation, at least initially. So that's a positive, and just trying to keep everybody healthy as you go through, because it will be a war of attrition when you get in the Big Ten, and the more physical style of play that they're going to go against. You're going to get more bumps and bruises throughout the season, I believe.
Seeing Elijah Page limp out, that was certainly jarring. I'm glad it sounds like it's only cramps. We'll see on Tuesday, that's the next open practice, what his availability looks like, but hoping for the best with him, and it was reassuring to hear from Lincoln Riley that he should be good. So, Shotgun, like I said off the top, it was your first time seeing a lot of these newer guys in person. You got to see Carlin Jones, a 310-pound true freshman defensive lineman. Thoughts on him, just overall thoughts on some of these new guys?
Yeah, Carlin Jones, just massive thighs. A big booty, massive thighs. What you're looking for someone that's going to hold the point of attack. Someone that can use their leverage, use their base to be able to hold things, to let those linebackers be able to go make plays. So really positive look at him. Just doesn't look like a freshman. And I know you guys have said that in some of the previous videos and your guys' first interactions with him. Cameron Fountain, a guy that looks much bigger than when I saw him. I saw him a year ago. I saw Lorenzo Cowan a year ago in high school, and these guys look completely different. Cowan in particular, now was a much leaner guy, but definitely put on a lot of weight. Some of these freshmen, talk about Elijah Page. I know it blew up a little bit the other day when Chris tweets it out and Pat McAfee tweets it out. But he looks bigger, it looks taller, I don't know what it is, but like a couple of these guys that I've seen for a couple of years now, I've seen them in high school, seen them their freshman year, just feel like, is this guy getting taller? Like every time I see him, there's a couple guys that kind of stand out in that way. And Elijah Page is definitely one of those. Hayden Trader, the freshman offensive lineman, definitely doesn't look like a freshman either. Had to do a double take, check the number real quick because I don't know him by face previously. But yeah, so definitely seeing the difference in the body types. Carlin Jones was one I was really interested, as well as Ratamana, because both those guys, haven't had the full spring, didn't have the chance to come in, but both those guys look like they are physically ready. Now, are they ready on the field and mentally and all those things? We'll see how long it takes them to come along, but physically they look like they could step in and, hold the point of attack and do what they need to do there. So definitely impressed by that, with how thin that defensive line has been. Gavin Meyer, thought it was interesting today. Looked like me and Ryan Karcher from the LA Times were talking about, looked like he had a 1993 tearaway jersey on, because he has a jersey that's a different color number. I don't know if his jersey got ripped or something, or maybe he's just got some large pads and, he needs a different style of jersey to fit on over it. But to see him go, and you see, if you want to believe in the rep hierarchy, as Chris Trevino always does, to see him, Bear Alexander, Kobe Pepe, Gavin Meyer be kind of the first three through some of the defensive line drills was interesting. Kobe Pepe does look bigger to me as well. I know there's been a lot of talk about him potentially taking that step forward, and it starts with the size when you're a defensive tackle, and he definitely looks the part right now. So curious to see what comes out, and once you get into actual 1 deep, 2 deep, who's playing with the first team, second team, because this part in camp you're still trying to learn what you have, but definitely the body types are different, and it's definitely evident from not just seeing the photos and the oil and the lighting, and everyone's made fun of that, but they definitely look different coming out. And now some guys like Braylon Shelby looked ready for the part last year. He looks even bigger this year. So there are definitely some pieces I think that they have to work with, and the physicality is much different than it was last year.
A few practice observations for me. It was interesting to see Lincoln Riley and Danton Lynn speaking for a long time with the head official when we were in there to watch. I don't remember if Alex Grinch was doing the same thing as Lynn did last year, but it really made me think, okay, Riley, even though he is the head coach, he's doing the offense, Lynn's doing the defense as expected, but they were really trying to get some rules down. It looked like the official at one point was motioning like a receiver, and I think they were trying to get some clarity on a false start or illegal motion or something. That was cool. Hank Pepper, the new long snapper from Michigan State, he was snapping to Roy Gage. USC needs a new holder this year. It looks like it could be walk-on quarterback Roy Gage. Jacoby Lane had a great one-handed catch in some of the receiver drills that we saw. He continues to really impress me. And then at the end of the viewing period shotgun, which has not happened yet, Danton Lynn has usually exclusively worked with the safeties during the time we've been in practice. He came over and checked out the defensive line a little bit, and that stood out to me as well.
Yeah, and you got Sean Newell over there. You've got Eric Henderson as well. Lynn kind of was moving all over the place today. Like you said, he was talking to the referees. At the end of practice, I noticed when we went in to talk to Lincoln Riley, he had all the NFL scouts all huddled up into one. Now, I'm sure they want to pick his brain because they know he has the NFL background. Hey, who fits into an NFL scheme like that? But I thought it was really interesting that he was basically holding court with probably 7 or 8 NFL scouts. So he was kind of moving and shaking today a little bit, moving all over the place. We got an up-close look at the linebackers. It's always fun listening to Matt Ince kind of talk and teaching, the teaching moments. We got a little bit of a look at the defensive linemen as well, kind of going against the sled. So those were fun to kind of see those up close and personal, and just see the teaching moments. Also see the older guys, see Mason Cobb pull Elijah Newby, I believe it was, or Desmond Stevens to the side, and talk up just what you need to do a little bit differently here. So you're getting teaching from the coaches, but you're also getting teaching from the players, and that's the best teams. When your players can become your secondary teachers as well, I think is when teams can really take another step forward, because you hear things a little bit differently from your teammate, your veteran that you look up to, versus the coach who is not playing you because you're a younger guy and you're not getting any playing time. So you may listen to that veteran a little bit more, a little bit differently than you do the coach. So just interesting to see those kind of pieces. Watching the wide receivers, you're just seeing them catch the ball and stuff. But just seeing Xavier Jordan go up and grab some balls.
He looked good.
Jacoby Lane going up and making snags like he always does. Some over-the-shoulder catches from Mekhi Lemon, Zachariah Branch. Mekhi Lemon had a really great catch on a punt, the final punt of the early period as well. So just seeing those young guys that we expect to take that next step forward. But it's always good to see it with your own eyes, at least for me, and kind of to see the paces they're making, as far as the body, but also are they going up and making that play in practice? Obviously, it's not competitive periods that we get to see. I would love to see one-on-ones and see those guys going with that DB group that there's a lot of positive thoughts about. But no certainty necessarily there. So would love to see those back and forth matchups. I'm jealous of you guys that you got to see one practice of that. But now with full pads on, would love to snuck in a periscope up over the peristyle, I guess, at the gates to be able to see what was going on at practice during those scrimmage periods. But so far it looks like USC's taking the right steps, at least for me, getting to see them for one practice.
Lincoln Riley, outside of the injury updates, he talked about special teams. I thought that was one of the most significant things from today. The kicker competition, he mentioned by name Michael Lance and then Ryan Sayeri, true freshman. Sayeri is, and then Lance is the transfer from Georgia Southern. Those guys, it sounds like, are competing in the kicking game, but Dennis Lynch is in there as well, as is Tyler Robles. And Riley talked about how last season when Lynch was the kicker, they just didn't make enough kicks. So I think he's playing from behind a little bit, but he's certainly competing. To me, it looks like it's Michael Lance's job, but don't sleep on Ryan Sayeri. I think he was I know he was really, really good in high school. And if he's ready. He's ready. He's a great kicker. So I think he's in the mix as well, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, one of the things that Riley said is that the years that he's been with Ryan Doherty, who's the special teams coordinator, even though it's not by title on the website, the years that he's been with them, he said it's been the best percentage they've had. Now, he said it's early in camp. It's not, they're just getting the pads on. He said as far as the makes go, for those, the competition is working to push everyone up, high tide raises all boats type of thing. So you're seeing those. And that was the thing. He said, we weren't good enough in that. We weren't good enough in the punt game. We weren't good enough in, everything outside of punt return. He said, we were elite in punt return. We were national championship. You got Zachariah Branch. That really helps. But the other areas they needed to improve, so they brought in extra competition, and so far it seems to be working as to push those other guys. I thought it was interesting as we were walking out early, we heard Eddie Zaplitsky, he's kind of the veteran guy in that mix, screaming at someone. So one of the younger guys or one of the new guys not doing something the right way or doing it right. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was interesting to hear him kind of yelling and chiding someone else in the group for not doing something the right way, which is what you need. You need leadership, and hopefully you've got guys pushing each other, and that's what it seems like so far. So we'll see once it comes game time, though, because what you do in practice doesn't matter at all when you're kicking field goals. It matters when you go to the big house and there's 100,000 people.
Yep. The last thing that stood out to me with Riley, and you can add some more, Shotgun, if you had other thoughts, the roster construction. He was asked about the future when the scholarship limit bumps up from 85 to 105, what that's going to look like, how much thought they've put into it, will partial scholarships be in play? And I thought the most interesting part of that was Riley said he just wants everyone to be playing from a level playing field. He wants a scholarship at USC, a really expensive school, to count the same as a scholarship at maybe a cheaper public school in Division I college football. That makes a lot of sense to me. It seems like they're considering everything. He talked a little bit about the 20 however million cap that's coming into play, and he just wants everything to be fair and be equal, and I think that's really smart and really important because, let's be honest, right now with NIL, it's not a level playing field. The NCAA and the college football powers, they're trying to level the playing field. I don't know how realistic it is. To hear Riley talk about how he wants everything to be even, that made a lot of sense to me. I don't know if right now in the world of college football we're going down the right track to make sure it's all even. There might need to be a czar or teams switching leagues. I don't want to get into that on instant analysis, but it was nice to hear that he wants everything to be equal. I feel the same way.
If they need a czar, I'm available. I'm just saying I wouldn't do a great job, but I could definitely take the paycheck, like George Kliavkoff and Larry Scott. But no, it's interesting that he talked about how he's had a lot of discussions with Jen Cohen, Jay Hillenbrandt, to talk about the administration, about the direction they want to go, how it's going to. And when you hear Lincoln Riley talk about this and how he talked about NIL the last couple of years, is that I feel, this is maybe completely throwing this out there, but I feel like he thinks I'm a better coach if I can just have even playing field. I will beat other teams. But I'm playing from behind with certain things. That makes it that much more difficult. Whereas some coaches look at it as, I can get ahead this way. He's like, let's just get back to X's and O's and I'll beat you there. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. The salary cap will bring it back some, but then they're still going to be able to get NIL on top of that, so it's never going to be a quite even field. In college athletics, it's never been quite an even field. There's much more inherent advantages to being in Southern California with the athletes that are here versus being in Pullman, Washington, but those are just built in. Now there's different advantages along the way, and the game has changed as we've gone. So we'll see what the next iteration of it is. Maybe we could skip forward 4 years and just be focused on what happens on the field, but that's not going to happen. There's going to be lawsuits along the way. There's going to be a lot of change, and it just continues to be a game that continues to evolve. And who can keep up with the evolution? USC's been a little bit behind with NIL, with everything. Can they take with the next evolution that comes, whether it be the salary cap, whatever, can they take the step to be a little bit ahead of their opponents? When you talk about the Oregons, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the other schools that are going to be in the Big Ten, as well as the SEC, ACC. That'll be the big question. Can you keep up, but also can you maybe get a little bit of an advantage as the next iteration comes along?
That would be a big help. Final observation for me, Achille Arnold after practice was working with one of the walk-on receivers just on getting out of his break and being physical at the line of scrimmage. I think that just goes to show the leader that he is and how important his addition is. He's really impressed so far based on everything we've heard from the coaches and his USC teammates. That's my final thought. Any final thoughts from you, Shotgun?
Yeah, I thought that was awesome, just shows you the veteran leadership, and it shows you a little bit about this group, I think. I think we're hearing more and more about the leaders and how everyone, the cohesiveness was the big question. There was a big issue last year. They didn't really come together as a full team. It seems like that has been something, talking with people behind the scenes and whatnot, that seems to be remedied a little bit now. Once you get hit in the mouth, things may change, so we'll see if that's the case. But it was fun to see, some of the young pups and see what their bodies look like after a couple months in, or a month in or so for the summer enrollees, a few months in for the January enrollees, and the changes. And everything seems to be heading in the right direction. If USC can stay healthy and especially if Elijah Page can stay healthy. Like I said, hopefully nothing serious there. Seemed like it was just some cramps, but that would be a huge blow for them. So I think that's my final thought, is just positive thoughts for him, because you want to see everybody stay healthy, but also positive thoughts for USC if he is healthy, because he just keeps growing. I think he's 7'6" right now. I'm not sure. I think he's up to George Murashon and Sean Bradley height. It seems like one of those edits on Twitter. Every time you see him, they get a little bit bigger for extra retweets and whatnot. But yeah, it's good to be out to practice and see everything, and good to see all you guys out here as well.
Yeah, great to see you. We'll be back Tuesday. He's Shotgun Spratling. I'm Connor Morrissette. We'll have another instant then. Thanks for tuning in.